fight her.
Oh, big right hand. One punch. That is it. Forget about the count. It is over.
Fighting for all nations. Kali K.O. Mequinonoag Reis.
I'm Susie from Women's Fight News, and today I'm here with American boxer Kali Reis, who is a 4-time world champion and the current WBA super lightweight champion. So thank you very much for joining me today, Kali.
Thank you so much for
I wanted to just first of all congratulate you on becoming a world champion in your last fight.
Thank you very much.
Also, congratulate you on getting engaged to your manager, Brian.
Thank you. A lot happened in 2020, so
yeah, a lot to congratulate you on.
Thank you.
In fact, I was going to congratulate you later on because you got a few awards as well, haven't you, from the different sanctioning bodies for 2020 as well.
Yeah.
So you got recognition, didn't you, from the WBA?
Yes, it was like a special mention for WBA.
And then the WBC mentioned you as like a hero during the pandemic.
Yep. In July.
And then also they gave you another award, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't have I guess they didn't have official awards, but they just named different activists for doing different things in the community or outside of boxing. So it was pretty cool. They're really active in outside boxing activities.
That's really nice, just to just have that recognition.
Absolutely.
And then also I wanted to sort of first of all go right back to the beginning, because I know you've probably answered it a million times, but just how you got into boxing.
Well, I've always been really sporty. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I have 2 brothers and 2 older sisters. And, they played basketball. We're very, very musically inclined. Everybody sings or plays an instrument. I don't carry a tune in a bucket. I don't sing, but I've always been interested in boxing. And I don't come from a boxing family or anything like that. I'm kind of like the rebel. I really didn't think that living in little Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island, that was really big. So I figured, New York, Philadelphia, California, places like that, I'd have to go. I played basketball, softball, volleyball, all team sports. But, I didn't grow up with 2 parents in the house. My parents got divorced when I was around 4. My father was in and out. As I have a big gap with my older brothers, so they were out the house, and I needed an outlet for a lot of things that I went through as a kid. Between like ages 8 or 10 to about 12 or 13, it was a lot of different changes, identity problems, sexuality problems. Couldn't really fit in anywhere. I'm biracial. I'm Cape Verdean and Native American, and just there's a lot of things where I had to fight since I was born. So the solo aspect of boxing really, really intrigued me. So I actually got wind of a friend of my mother's who's also a Narragansett Native American out towards where I am in the same territory. And he's also a jewelry maker. And, during powwows, I used to bug him like, hey, can you teach me stuff? But he was really old school. So he'd brush me off all the time, but he ended up showing me a few things, and I fell in love with just learning. And I always like to learn something new. And kind of fast forward to my father did actually come back around here, and he was way out of state in Florida, and he ended up coming around, and I kind of mentioned it to him as well. And he has a relative that actually trains his daughter. Kind of played around with that for a little while, and I walked into Peter Manfredo Senior's gym on a hot summer day, and he told me, you know, in his very Rhode Island Italian accent, hey, you don't want to be here. You want to be at the beach. Hey, you don't want to be these guys smelling stuff. So, but I wanted to be there. And, you know, it was, you know, as cliche as it sounds, it was love at first punch. That was the first time I was actually doing something where I was only focusing on the task at hand and not worried about everything else that was going on in my head or my outside world. And that solo aspect of boxing, whereas if you don't do something for yourself, it's on you. You don't have any, you know, 4 other players on the basketball court where, you know, you can bench that day because you're having a bad day. If you're having a bad day, you better dig down deep. So kind of being used to being on my own and not really having anybody to really talk to or turn to when I was going through the, you know, internalizing a lot of different things. I just fell in love with it. And from then on, I did not have an extensive amateur background. I did a lot of smokers. You know, I won a couple of tournaments here and there, but being at 154 pounds as a teenage girl in Rhode Island, there wasn't that many. And, you know, I needed the money, the funding to kind of travel, to go to the Women's Golden Gloves or those different tournaments. But, you know, and I don't have really an amateur style. So, and then from there, you know, the big journey of professional boxing, I've had quite the journey.
So it's 2008 you went pro.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've looking through your record, obviously you've fought, you know, quite a lot of big names. And obviously the one that stands out to me is Cecilia Braekhus. So and I know that it was quite a controversial decision really, because some people say that you actually won that fight.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't take any losses and, you know, make excuses and that, you know, I just always go back to the drawing board. Win or loss. I have losses, but I've never gotten beat. Nobody ever beat me up. You know what I mean? So a lot of the losses I shouldn't have lost. You know what I mean? But for the majority of my career, I've self-made 3-time middleweight world champion. I had no promoter, no manager, sometimes no coach, permanent coach to go with me. I was always either working and training, and, you know, all the other coaches, you know, they had other fighters. So had I been, you know, handled from my professional debut and had a manager, had the right setup, maybe my career would have been different, but I wouldn't want it to be anything else than what it is now.
Yeah, it's led you to where you are now.
Absolutely.
And 4 times world champion. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
And I mean, with Celia, I mean, you were the first person to put her down, weren't you? To knock her down.
Absolutely. And she's one person that, you know, I'm a big sponge. I like to observe. So when I first went pro, it was, you know, I wanted to watch people who were successful in what I, you know, in my dreams. So she was actually somebody I watched really closely. I told myself I'd fight her one day. So it was, you know, being in there and watching was something different. Not putting anything, you know, not talking junk about her, but she wasn't as good as I thought. You know what I mean? And it was kind of, you know, the belief within myself, thinking, do I belong here in this top elite? You know, I learned a lot from that fight. So.
And also with that fight, I know it's the first televised female bout, wasn't it, on HBO?
Yeah, they've been on air for 45 years, and we were the first one to be on HBO, and we wasn't even supposed to. That wasn't the original plan, but a fight fell out, and we found out about a week before the fight that we was actually going to be on HBO, and I was like, oh my God.
And over 1.1 million viewers, I think I read somewhere.
I'm glad I didn't know that going. That's crazy.
And also I had an interview recently, and in fact I told you about it, with Michaela Lauren, who said how hard you hit and how she'll never forget how hard you hit. And how she thought you'd broken the nose, and she thought you'd go on to do even more, because she thought you're a pretty special fighter.
Yeah, that was one of those fights that I'll never forget either, because the circumstances were so bizarre. But I remember fighting her. She hits hard too, man. That was the first and only time I've ever gotten like a swollen black eye from a fight. Wow.
And what would you say is, because obviously you're saying how you've never been beat down and you've never been stopped. So what would you say is your toughest fight?
Like I said, I'd have to say Michaela Lauren. She surprised me as how strong she was, and you know, coming back to boxing after, you know, accidents and all that was pretty tough. Number one, I flew in the day of the weigh-in. I didn't have a real coach. I just had one of the kids from the gym come with me. It was in a place that I didn't know. They have different kind of ways of doing things. We didn't fight till it was like 2:30 in the morning because they have like different times. And, you know, they reuse gloves, and I didn't have anybody in my corner. That was probably the toughest fight because she surprised me how hard she could hit, you know. And somebody from there worked my corner that I didn't know, and he didn't put no inswell or anything on my eye, so I was kind of like fighting with one eye. So I would say that fight was one of the hardest fights, as well as Ashley Curry. She just recently fought Franchon Cruz, and when you have somebody, and this is again not me being a smart ass, but when you have somebody that doesn't have much skill and they're really awkward, that's way tougher than fighting somebody like Cecilia that has skill and you can kind of match skill for skills. That was like the most annoying fight to me. So definitely those two.
And then going on from that, what would be your sort of highlight, your career highlight for you?
I have a few for a few reasons. I mean, I got told that I wasn't going to box anymore after I got into my motorcycle accident in 2012. And following that accident, 3 months after that, I got assaulted by a police officer. So we re-injured what was already injured from my accident. And they basically told me, you know, you shouldn't box anymore. That was before I had any world titles. And then I came back and won a world title against, the first world title was against Teresa Perozzi for the IBA middleweight world championship. And again, I always have a story, but I was working with a coach, and the day before we were supposed to leave, he had a heart attack. So he couldn't fly. So again, I had to scramble around us to ask anybody if they wanted to come to Bermuda with me. But it was a very significant fight. It was my first world title, and it was during Native American Heritage Month. And it was also on part of a land. Bermuda used to be a slave port where a lot of my ancestors, my Wampanoag people, were taken to Bermuda and many other places as slaves. So being as, you know, I finally was getting used to why I even fight and having like a purpose behind why I fight. During Native American Heritage Month, coming back to boxing, fighting for a world title was really significant because I was able to, you know, have that spiritual battle too as well, being on that land and being able to fight like my ancestors did, win that title and take my ancestors back home. So that was like a highlight, and that was my first world title. So I was like, all right, I can really do this. Okay. You know, I started believing in myself more and more. And I know there's a lot of people that will tell you just the success, but it's been a journey to really believe in myself wholeheartedly throughout everything that I've been through, and just people constantly telling me who I wasn't going to be, where I was going to end up, and the stereotypes that, you know, stick with being Native American or being Cape Verdean or being somebody who's not white and trying to succeed in my area. You know, it's been a constant battle. And that was the first time that I realized, okay, I can do this.
And obviously now you're the WBA super lightweight champion. What's your plans for the future? Do you want to start collecting more belts, unify?
Absolutely. You know, from like 126 to 147, women's boxing is on fire. Even 118 division is crazy right now. So I'm in a perfect position. You know, I got the experience of a veteran, but I'm highly relevant right now. I'm an elite fighter. I'm not on my way out. You know, I feel like after winning this 4th world title in a weight class I never thought I'd be able to get down to, with the actual team behind me, and finally, I feel like my career just started. So we have big plans. I have a very smart team between my promoter, Blue DeBella, my manager, Brian Cohen, who also works for Split T Boxing management company. So I have a solid team. I have a permanent coach, Danny Davis, who I work with in Philadelphia, which I'm here now. So everything has finally come together. So, you know, of course I want to unify. Of course I want to fight, you know, all these top fighters in 140. But I have so many options from being 140 to 147 to, I mean, if the money's right, the one, you know, a catch weight at 54, if it makes sense. So 2021, I want to defend and collect more belts. You know, hold up my pants.
Because I mean, obviously, within super lightweight, you've got Chantelle Cameron, who's backed by Matchroom. Mm-hmm. So that's quite a big fight that would be great to happen.
Absolutely.
And then obviously, you've obviously got the Mary McGee, and you've got Christina Ventado. So, hope, you know, do you want to line them all up? Is there one in particular you want to fight?
The Chantelle Cameron fight is very intriguing. It's been intriguing to us for like the past year, because we were in talks about that fight last year, but obviously with COVID, everything kind of just fell through. Obviously, I would love to unify all three. But you know, we have 3 of the 4 belts on this side of the, you know, on our side. You know, Mary McGee's also managed by Brian Cohen, signed to the belt, as well as Christina. So, you know, however they want to move the chips. I would love to fight Chantelle. She's skilled. You know what I mean? I think that would be a great fight. Plus, I want to fight in the UK. You guys are awesome. I have so many UK fans, man. It's I haven't fought there yet. But that's also a fight that, you know, we could also bargain to have it on American soil. I just think that would be a really fun fight. However you match the 4, it will be a really good fight. I mean, obviously they're my teammates. It's business. So, of course, Brian doesn't want to, you know, pull his hair out trying to, you know, having this fight of his other fighters. But, you know, it happens. So we'll just see how the chips fall.
That's it. It's great because, you know, you're all great champions. So
Absolutely.
it's some tough fights.
Yeah.
And then obviously you were saying about going up in different weights, because I mean, would you be interested in a rematch with Braekhus, or even going for Jessica McGaskill?
I mentioned Jessica last year. It was funny. I was, you know, I'm always looking, I'm always searching, because I'm, you know, women's boxing is not, the pool isn't as deep as the male, so you got to be really flexible. Now that I know I can make 140 very easily and still feel strong, it's possible. So from 140 to, like I said, 47 is my bread and butter. I love fighting at welterweight, you know. The fans want the Braekhus Reis rematch. You know what I mean? She's claimed that she wanted it, but I think that was just a bunch of BS. But it is what it is. I know it's business. Most of the time, it's not the fighters. It's the ones who, you know, speak for the fighters and make those decisions. I would love the winner of their rematch. You know, whoever wins, give me that. You know what I mean? But at this point, I feel like, you know, I ran down my 7 losses, and there's a couple of redemptions I would like to get, especially with the team and the training I have now. And just knowing that I can be better and better at fight. So, yeah, I would love to fight McCaskill, love to fight Braekhus, love to fight whoever wants to fight me. You know what I mean? Let's make those good money fights happen, because that's what we all deserve in women's boxing.
So yeah, plenty of options.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to talk to you. You briefly mentioned it about sort of your Native American sort of heritage and how much you do around that in terms of your community. You do a lot of motivational speaking, and so I just wanted to ask you more about that, really.
Well, I mean, you know, when I first started boxing, it was for a lot of reasons. It was for an outlet. It was something I can also use an expression. I'm a very artsy person, very expressive. But I knew there was like a bigger purpose to it. It wasn't all left hooks, jabs, and right hands, and yay, look at me on Facebook, I'm fighting. You know what I mean? Being a Native American and always finding purpose in everything we do. And also we call it, you know, your gift, or your gift is your medicine. You know, and what good is a gift if you keep it for yourself? We have to give it. So as I did it more and more, and I saw the impact it had on others, seeing somebody that looked like them or that was the same as them doing something that they thought maybe they weren't capable of, or seeing, you know, they're being represented in the mainstream media in a sport that is really, you know, has been on and popping for you know, a long time. I started really finding my purpose in it, and kind of really learning who I was as a Native American woman, the strength of where it came from. You know, when I wanted to quit, I would always go back to my roots, always ground myself, and, you know, I'm here for a purpose. My ancestors fought. So I got more and more into why I even fight. It was really important for me to represent us, and because we're so and underrepresented, and we're like the forgotten race here. You know what I mean? People, oh, you're Native American? Wow, I thought you guys were extinct. Like, we're dinosaurs. You know what I mean? No, we fought battles, emotional battles, spiritual battles, you know, genetic genocide from generation to generation. And to be here still, and, you know, relearning, because I can't say, you know, learning for the first time, like remembering our language, remembering our ceremonies. My grandmother, my great-grandmother weren't able to practice ceremony, weren't able to say they were Wampanoag because it was illegal. You know what I mean? So me as a Wampanoag woman, and being kind of like the first generation to be brought up in our culture and able to freely express myself, I thought it's like my duty to make sure that I represent my people well, and give that medicine, that energy back to our people, and show that we fight. You know, a lot of times there's some elders and stuff that don't agree with, obviously, the sport. But when I tell them, you know, the purpose is way more than me. You know, it's not for me, it's for us as nations. Fight for all nations. That's my hashtag or my slogan, whatever you want to call it. So learning more about myself, finding my identity, and really knowing what my gift is and how I can give back, and give, even if it's just, you know, give some kind of hope or motivation to a lot of younger generation and even current or older generation, just to kind of really re-spark that spark and fire in us to be proud of who we are. I wasn't always proud of being half this, half that. I wasn't Native American enough. I wasn't Cape Verdean or Black enough. The most racial or prejudice I've ever faced was from other natives, because I'm mixed, and it's stupid, but that's the reality that we live in. It took me a while to embrace, people think Native Americans have this long, straight black hair. It took me a while to embrace this. I don't have that. I'm mixed. I'm indigenous. So my area, I'm Cape Verdean, so we have a lot of curly hair. You know what I mean? So it was very, it was cathartic to go through my journey to kind of really understand who I fight for. Why do you even do this? I found purpose in it.
And I understand you're getting a film. Is it based on your background and your childhood?
Yeah, we did a short, and I actually I am into film. I am an actor as well. A lot of people don't know that, but I've been working on some things for the last couple of years, and that short was just kind of to, another quick story to tell. As Native American people, we love to tell stories. We have stories. So for people to kind of get a little bit an idea of my background, that, everybody sees the final product, but no one has any idea what I had to do to get where I'm at now. So that was fun to recreate my life. It was nostalgic, but it was fun.
And I wanted to ask you as well that another sort of hot topic at the moment is women's pay. Well, I just wanted to ask what your opinion on the whole thing is.
Oh man, I mean, the hot topic between the pay and the minute rounds, I can touch on both. Women do not get paid. We don't get paid nearly a fraction of what we should. Is it getting better? Absolutely. Do I see changes? Absolutely. Do I see networks and promoters standing behind women's boxing to put us on and put very competitive title fights full of talent on? Absolutely. Slowly but surely, I believe that we'll be getting paid more and more. Will I ever see $1 million payday? Probably not. But if we can keep pioneering to get those same pays, absolutely. I don't, that's what women's sports in general. It makes me like nauseous. I look, because it's public record, even on the undercard of the Triple G card, I saw what his opponent got paid as opposed to what I got paid. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm fighting for 5 belts. I'm this undisputed champion on HBO. And I'm getting like this fraction of what this opponent's getting. It's ridiculous. And people say, women should fight 3-minute rounds. Listen, I think we should start with adding 2 more rounds at the end of world title fights. Make 12 twos. You know what I mean? You really won't see a bad female fight because we have 1 less minute to do the work. So it's really action packed. And also networks wouldn't want to put a 10, 12 round 3-minute fight, women's fight on with all the men's, being so long. If it's a bad men's fight, it's a long, bad fight. But if it's, it's kind of not really competitive, women's fight is shorter. So we have more opportunities to be on networks. That's kind of how my promoter, Lou DiBella, was explaining to me, and it makes a lot of sense. And also, if I go to my job and I work 8-hour shifts and I get paid, okay. But if they say, hey, you want to stay another 6 hours, but I'm not going to pay you? No, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If you want me to fight 3-minute rounds, pay me for 3-minute rounds. Or don't. Stay at 2 minutes, but make the undisputed championships, the world title fights, 12 rounds. I think we should start there. After you add 2 more rounds, you will see more knockouts. You will see a lot more knockouts. I believe, because if Cecilia was in there for either another minute each round or 2 more rounds, she was not getting up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you made a stumble, didn't you, in another, like in the 9th and the 10th? Is it?
Yeah. Her coach was telling her she's not getting any more. She's not getting weaker. She's getting stronger. Run.
And I also wanted to ask you, any passions outside of boxing? So obviously you talk about sort of outside of boxing, your heritage and all that. But any other sort of passions?
I'm a certified motorcycle mechanic, so I love riding bikes. I have a sport bike. It's really fast. I love that. Very artsy. I paint. I used to play the violin when I was 9 years old. I started playing when I was 9, so I'm very much into music. I love going to different communities and reservations and learning more about the people who follow and support me, giving those motivational speeches, and just meeting all these wonderful little warriors that follow me. You know what I mean? That is something I have a lot of passion behind. I would love to make it, you know, a yearly thing, to do some kind of like a reservation or a res tour, as I would call it, just to go around and, you know, it's almost like going visiting a third world country sometimes in some of these communities, because there's so much lack of resources. So however my impact and my success in boxing can give back, I would love to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm very, very passionate about acting. I got into it. I've always wanted to, and I finally did get into it. And I have a lot of things, you know, going on right now and I'm really excited about. And just to be the face of the something else, as we were called during the election, or the different, you know, the different people that we don't get represented. I build a hell of a platform with boxing. I'm not done yet. You know, I have a lot of work to do, but after boxing, commentating would be awesome. I would love to commentate. I just love boxing anyway, in a whole, starting some boxing programs, going along with the work I do and trying to bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women. You know, I would love to start some kind of workshops that we could present to all these different communities that are heavy with this epidemic, to try to, you know, teach our women, our boys, our girls, our people to defend themselves. Because there's probably a lot of situations where if that girl knew how to defend herself, maybe this perpetrator wouldn't have taken her. Maybe would have thought twice. You know what I mean?
I know you're advertising something at the moment that you're doing, sort of a live fight sort of session or something. When's that?
That's next Saturday, January 16th. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's in collaboration with Overthrow, New York, their gym, and ESPN. They have a documentary. It's called Blackfeet Boxing, Not Invisible. It's really awesome. So if you get a chance to see it, it's really just to see the passion and the heart and the guts of these kids living through this really, really crazy epidemic. You know, they're using boxing to fight back and to learn how to defend themselves, which is awesome. So we're just bringing awareness, you know, kind of giving people a little bit more education about it. And we're doing a live workout class with them, the younger people from the Blackfeet Boxing Club, and anybody can sign up for it. It's a free boxing class with myself, Veronica Jeffrey, and Ayana Okimos. She's from the Menominee Nation. And then we're going to just have a discussion on it, because there's a lot of people that don't even know about it, and just kind of get perspectives from people who've lived through it, who are living with it, and how we can, you know, have preventative actions.
That sounds great. Sounds really good.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you as well, what advice would you give your younger self, of things that you know now? What would you say?
You don't got time for that. You know, don't take no for an answer, and believe in yourself, because you're worth it. You can do it. Don't stop doubting yourself, because, you know, I was always doubting myself, always telling myself in the back of my head, oh man, you know, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to do this. You know, I was listening to that, but just keep going. You're worth it.
Right, so thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
It's been great to speak to you, and I'm looking forward to 2021. It's going to be great for women's boxing. We just need to get rid of this virus, and then I think it's going to be some great matchups.
Absolutely, man. These networks are putting us on, so let's go.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. I want to see you against Chantelle Cameron. That's what I'd like to.
I know everybody wants to say, I want to see that too, man. Fireworks in that ring. But thank you so much for having me on. Anytime.
Thank you very much, Kali.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click like now and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Thank you. Bye.